Welcome to the Ask Weldon Show, episode 160. Today we are going to talk about hacks to climb soloQ, and that's not computer game hacks, sorry. I realized after I named this that I probably should have clarified that what I mean is like mental tips and tricks, okay? Hacks to climb soloQ and how to reach your goal of going pro. We also have some other great questions on the show. Something about being an AD carry and sports psychology internship / assistant coaching. Welcome to the Ask Weldon Show, episode 160. My name is Weldon, and this is the show where you ask me questions. I am a sports psychology trainer, so I have my master's in sports science, in sport and exercise psychology, and I have been training professional esport athletes for the last 4 years or so, including teams like CLG, TSM, G2 Esports, among many others. And on this show, usually I field questions about esports psychology, high performance, and sometimes League of Legends coaching as well, since that is one of my main games. And I've been playing MOBAs since 2002 with the advent of Dota, Defense of the Ancients on Warcraft 3 mod, and since then I haven't really stopped playing MOBAs. That's a big lie, because in 2015, when I started coaching, I actually stopped playing and I only started analyzing and watching the game because I didn't have time anymore. And that's a very sad kind of, evolution of my career, but it is what it is. Sometimes even video games fall by the wayside, which took about 30 years for me, but hey, we got there anyway. All right, guys, I think that I don't have many announcements for the day. It's bench press day at the gym. That's a big announcement, Yesterday was back and biceps, and I ran out of time to get to biceps, and I was super, super sad. But today, at least I get to bench. So we get to do something egotistical in the gym. And then we have the dreaded leg day again. But that's for another day. That's for tomorrow. What other updates? Had a really bad day yesterday mixed with a really good day. It was the craziest day ever. I got a really, really bad notice from the IRS, followed by a really awesome phone call with the IRS. It wasn't really that awesome. It just a little bit of not suck. You call the IRS, you expect everything to suck, but then it didn't. So, got really bad news about work, but then I got really good news about work in a couple hours later by email, different work. Then I got to preview the new app that we're creating for the Mind Games app to be the new version of the Mac program. I don't think I'm going to call it the Mac program anymore, but got to see that. Super exciting. Really love Google's cloud hosting services, their cloud database like Firestore. And what else happened yesterday? Just a real back and forth kind of day. I had chicken for dinner. That's about it for the updates. Let's jump into the show, you guys. The first question is an audio question. This question is from a wonderful volunteer in my audience who, there was this guy named Forgus who was too kind of embarrassed to read his question aloud. He's like, my English isn't that great. I would prefer to type it. And one of the members of my audience said, hey, I will read it for you live into the call-in. And so here is that question. I'm going to put on my headphones so I can re-listen to it.
Hey Weldon, I'm asking this question from our friend Forgus. My dream is to become a pro in League of Legends. I perved around High Diamond and finally reached Masters last season. I often get tilted and go on loss streaks, and even took a 2-month break due to this. I made a goal to reach Challenger in a week and dropped down to Diamond 3. I often doubt myself and question my decisions. I don't know what to do to accomplish my dream, and I get depressed whenever I lose a lot of games. What can I do to help me reach my goals?
All right, great question. So you want to go pro. This is for you guys watching. You want to go pro, or you want to get high rank, and you are swayed emotionally by the state of the game being a win or a loss. Okay, so the number one thing you have to do, you have to disassociate winning and losing from the growth of skills. Okay, professional players do not care if they win a solo queue match or not. They do, but they are trying to learn and improve their skill more than they want to win. Sometimes you lose scrims in order to gain new skill. Sometimes you lose solo queue games in order to gain new skill. If you're going to play a new champion and get good at a new champion, you're going to be worse than people who've been playing a standard champion for a long time. If you have a champion that you must practice to go on stage and it's a bad matchup, you're going to play it anyway and aspire to win the bad matchup. Okay, so you must disassociate ladder ranking and winning and losing from skill growth. They're not the same thing. For example, you could be practicing a new skill. You could be practicing with a new champion, okay? And let's say you go from skill 1 on a chart of 1 to 10 to skill 4 on a chart of 1 to 10 with this new champion, all right? But the skills that you're learning, so the skills that you're improving, let's say like it's like you're getting slightly better at positioning and you're getting slightly better at the combo or whatever, but you don't have the whole package, right? So you keep losing. But your skill has increased, but you're still losing. And then you go from skill 4 to skill 8, okay? And let's say you've added to your bucket now, you've added like, the purchasing, and you've added, like some certain skirmishing and team fighting optimization. So you're now at skill 8 with this champion, and you're still losing. Like you're still going down, right? Your skill's going up, and your rank is going down. Because rank and winning and losing games is not a measure of skill growth, like internally, like your muscles and your visual pattern recognition improving. Okay. Then all of a sudden you hit skill 10 with the champion out of 10. Let's say you hit 9 out of 10. Okay. Can't be perfect. And then all of a sudden you start winning. Okay. So winning and losing on a competitive ranked ladder when you're one of 9 people does not directly represent skill growth and loss on your champion and in the game. Okay. You might have 3/5 of your like shot calling needed to be platinum, and you might be gold, and you have 3/5, and yesterday you were at 2/5, and now you're 3/5 of platinum level shot calling, and you're still losing. You're just like hovering around in mid gold. Then you're 4/5 of platinum level shot calling, and you're still in low gold. Then you hit 5/5 of platinum level shot calling, and then you hit plat. Okay, so you must mentally disassociate winning and losing and ranked LP, gain and loss, which is just basically essentially a measurement stick against other people, from skill growth, compartmentalized skill growth on your champion. If you're going to be a pro, you need to get more intricate and more focused on your improvement in the game and less on the representation of that improvement over time, which is the ladder. Okay, so how do you do this? First of all, you need a set of mantras and ways of getting your head out of thinking about your rank. Okay, you need to not give a crap about it. You need to say like, I will be so good they can't ignore me. There's a quote by Steve Martin: "Be so good they can't ignore you." And things like, I may not be challenger today, but that doesn't mean I won't be challenger someday. And a firm belief that if you apply yourself correctly and with focus and discipline to the improvement of the game, that you will hit challenger, and not worry about the steps along the way. You'll get there a lot faster, okay? Don't make goals about ranked climb. Make goals about skill improvement, okay? Like specifically like winning and losing lane would be a good one to start with as like a big grandiose goal. But then I want you to get even smaller. Like I want you to make goals about not dying and roaming well and improving skills that you suck at, such as leadership around Baron and not missing team fights and optimizing farm at turrets and like things that you notice you suck at and you're like, I need to get better at that so that I don't even have to think about it and I'm good at it. And I want you to prioritize picking apart your game and dismantling it into discrete chunks and then measuring your improvement in those chunks. And it might help to get a coach for that. But get your head out of the ranked system, and the sooner that you ignore ranking, the faster you're going to climb. If that's your goal. If you set your goal to be Challenger 1, then you ignore the ladder and you focus 100% on internal growth of yourself as a competitor and as a player. You're much more likely to get there than if you focus on the actual progression of the climbing, okay? Because the reflection of your skill in the ladder ranking system is delayed. It's delayed until you already have finished acquiring the skill, so it doesn't show you as you're gaining it. And it's delayed after that statistically. So even after you have the skill, you have to wait for weeks for that representation of that skill to show up in your ranked in your LP difference. Okay, so it's a really bad way to train. Please stop training that way, and then you'll stop being depressed about ranked falling and climbing. You're handicapping yourself if you say I'm gonna hit this rank. You don't have any control over that. You're 1/9 of the team. You can't say like I'm gonna hit a certain rank in a week because you are 1/10. Sorry, there's 9 other factors in the game besides you that you cannot control. So I would stick far away from making goals about getting a certain rank in a week. That just seems like a recipe for sadness. All right, good question. I hope that was helpful and clarifying. The next question I want to dive into is a text question. So this was submitted on Twitter using the hashtag #AskWeldon. Oops, over here. Okay. I just started your Mac program, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of it. My question is, what are the 3 most important skills of an AD carry? Okay, I'll get into the Mac program in a sec. So let me ignore the first part of that question, which is really a praise, and go on to what are the most 3 important skills of an AD carry? And by the way, you can submit questions if you saw the graphic there that showed when I played the question. You can submit questions using the hashtag #AskWeldon on Twitter, but I prefer if you call them in on Anchor, anchor.fm/Weldon Green. The first audio question you heard was straight from the Anchor app. Okay, the 3 most important skills of an AD carry are farming consistently throughout the entire game, grouping when necessary, and when you have your item spikes, but being grouped at the crucial team fights, and not dying. That is it. Those are the 3 most important skills of an AD carry. You must be able to farm no matter what. You must be able to farm safely without dying. At all points in the game, you must be able to hit your item spikes at the same time or ahead of your opposing AD carry. You must be able to read the map and to, when you're not farming, to group, and when you're not grouped, to be farming. You need to optimize your movement so that you are always farming or grouped at the right time. If you do that, you're perfect. And then you need to not die, essentially. Now, that comes with a caveat, this not dying thing. I say not dying because that is the main issue for most AD carries, kind of going all the way up. But then at some point, it's about how much damage you can put out per health tick that you have. So the best AD carries will put out the maximum amount of damage and not lose any health. But in some situations, you need to put out, like, if you do not lose health, but you do not put out any damage, then you're going to lose systematically to an AD carry that is exchanging risk and health for damage on opponents. Like some AD carry who takes the leap and decides to go in and like take out that backline carry and exchange half or all of their health bar for it, but it's crucial amounts of damage that actually ends up winning the fight. So at some point you need to have the decisiveness and the discernment to know when to trade HP for damage and when to trade your life for damage even at crucial moments. Although for an AD carry, that is the most rare circumstance, but it is there, and you need to be able to pull the trigger at those times, and also you need to be able to like all in on the fight. If you're behind a little bit and you're in a conclusive game-winning or losing fight, and you play it safely without taking risks or risking any of your HP, and then at the end you're the only one left alive, and you just retreat back to your base, well, you didn't really play AD carry correctly. I mean, you played like AD carry correctly in a different situation, right? But in that particular fight, which was a game-winning fight where you needed to put it all on the line, at the end you need to either be dead or they do. That's kind of what it comes down to. All right, that was pretty simple. Those are the 3 most important skills. Now remember, grouping at the right time includes grouping when your team is messing up, okay? So for example, you're like, hey team, don't fight. Hey team, don't fight. I got to catch this wave, and then your team gets wiped. And you're like, guys, what the heck? And you look at the enemy comp and it's like Camille, Morgana, Galio, Thresh. I don't know how they have Morgana and Thresh, but whatever. Morgana top lane. And they're like, dude, we couldn't do anything about it. Like we got engaged on from like half a map away through 15 walls. And you're like, okay, yeah. So you got to be aware, obviously, of what the opposing team can do to your team to get engaged on. You got to look at and know what safety is and stuff like that. Like maybe you should farm only when your team is recalling back to base and they're on the pad because they literally can't get engaged on through the Nexus turrets. You know what I mean? But anyway, so also whenever you are not grouped and your team gets engaged on, see that as an error and see how you could have predicted it or prevented it in terms of your farm timing. Like maybe you could have gone to farm earlier or later to catch that wave. Let's see. Anyway, that is the question. And now let's jump into the next one. Question number 3. Oh, let me get rid of that text. Okay.
Hey, Weldon. I mentioned this to you on your stream yesterday, and you told me you would prefer this to be sent in as an audio question, so here it is. So I recently managed to land a position as an intern for a local college team as their assistant coach / team psychologist, and I was wondering if you had any advice for general procedures or activities that I could run with a very amateur team that's really early on in development. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to your response. Bye.
All right. Fun starter activities for an amateur team as an assistant coach / sport psychology trainer. Hey, you guys, all of you aspiring sports psychology trainers, this one is for you. Okay. One of the first things that I do with the team is I do a role analysis. So there's these team roles, right? Like leader, verbal leader, nonverbal leader, comedian, cancer, somebody, the toxic guy, the team player, the social org convener. There's these kinds of roles, and one of the first things I do is I created a survey to kind of like run through a role analysis. So you could look into research on group dynamics and team roles in sport. There's some pretty cool papers and pretty cool models, and then steal one of the models that you really like and create a survey around it and have the team diagnose each other with roles and then represent it graphically in some way and show them a makeup of the team. I think that's a super fun, interesting way to think about group dynamics. People understand it when they see the picture of like what roles they are. People like to be labeled, and then it helps them clarify their identity on the team. They're like, oh, my teammates see me as a nonverbal leader. Like they look up to me that way, Or, oh, my teammates see me as a social convener. Or like, oh, my teammates see me as cancer. Oh, don't do that one. I usually leave out the negative ones. I diagnose them, but then I never show them to the team. I talk to the people separately, and I don't tell them they were labeled as cancer, but we work on stuff. Oh, my teammates see me as a giver, as a team builder, like a person who sacrifices for others. Cool. So then they have this identity on the team, right? And it's kind of like having an identity in a family. You just start doing that more because people like it and you want them to respect you. And so role clarity. If you can find any activities or design an activity to give role clarity, I think that's one of the best ways to kick off foundation of a new team. Then, of course, team building. But I mean team building like you should do team building not the amateur way, which is just go out to a TGI Fridays restaurant or something and eat dinner, and not the annoying way where coaches have you go do a rope course or like a trust fall or something. I would do it with a sports psychology tinge. So I would design some questions, make players go on dates, have them exchange deeper information about each other, have them do some sort of well-designed activity that involves trust and risk and information exchange above all, because it's information exchange that's going to build the kind of bonds that you want. So that's a really fun way to start. And then I would do usually I start with teams, I start with the highest impact thing on play. So usually that's motivation. How do you stay motivated when you're motivated? How do you recognize when you're not motivated? How do you train despite being not motivated? How can you active recovery in order to get motivated again later? What is the difference between active recovery and passive recovery? What are the best of ways to do active recovery so you can be motivated again? If you are motivated, like how much should you train? Helping people train more usually helps. So finding ways of like unlocking people's schedule, using their motivation as a discipline for the rest of their life. So you say like, hey, you feel like you don't have enough time to play and you want to train more and you're super motivated. So how come you aren't getting up at 4 and training in the morning and then going to bed like, at like 11 so that you have more time to train, instead of training at night when it's ineffective and you're not doing very well. So you can use the motivation to help people discipline their lives and find other pockets and areas of training. You can always do something fun like do a mindfulness program. Okay, so those are the team things. And then for one-on-one stuff, you have to develop your own way of doing high-performance consulting. So essentially, develop a framework, go in with a plan, right, of the things you're going to talk about and a structure that you're going to use no matter what happens in the conversation, and then stick to that structure and then reflect on it and then evolve it. So it's a perfect opportunity for you to learn actually what is the best structure for you to do high-performance consulting. Okay, that is it for that question. Those are the kickoff activities. All right, guys, last question. Before I jump into the last question, I have to tell you about my Mac training program. This is a video program online that I made to essentially replace the fact that I cannot do live training with amateur players because I'm working, because all of my time is mostly taken up, basically. And that is not how I wanted it to be. And so around 2015, 14, 13, around 2013, I started making this video training program based on the principles that I have used with teams like CLG, TSM, G2. And it is the same teams with which, by the way, I won championships, every single one. And it is based on the principles of mindfulness and acceptance commitment. And this training course basically takes you through those principles. So it's about high performance in life, not in esport, right? It's a high performance program for those of you who wish to understand the mindset and the mentality around performing well in what you're doing, around focusing and staying gritty, I would say, to what you are attempting, whether it be ballroom dancing, esport, studies, relationship, whatever it may be. And this program is essentially, 7 modules, so 7 weeks, 7 days. You can do it faster, you can do it slower. Actually, you can't do it any faster. I take that back. You can only do 1 video a day. And in the new program that I'm making, so I'm making an app out of this program, which, by the way, if you buy this program now, you get grandfathered into the app, even though the pricing model is going to change. In the app that I'm making, you're limited to 1 video a day, so I'm going to prevent people from watching 2 in a 24-hour cycle. Ha! But right now, people have been asking, and the answer is no, you cannot watch more than 1 video, but you can meditate as much as you want. So there's a mindfulness training component in there, and you can do a bunch of meditations if you like and if you desire. And then, so it's essentially 7 sessions in a module, so 1 for every day of the week, but people can do them, you can do them down as low as 3 times a week, and it takes you through an onion. I know that's a little confusing, but I see the learning of these concepts as an onion. You learn all the concepts superficially. On the outer layer, you peel 1 layer deeper. You learn the same concepts 1 layer deeper. You peel it. You learn the same concepts 1 layer deeper, right? So we're going to, instead of building a pyramid where we put a bunch of blocks as a foundation and we build on top of it, we're going to be doing the onion method where we go through everything and then we go through everything and then we go through everything. And it's a very cyclical kind of sense of soaking in content. And I think that there's 5 layers. There's not 7. Because I do have to go building block by building block for weeks 2 through 4, 2, 3, and 4. Then 5, 6, and 7 are onion, onion, onion. So anyway, make sure to come and get your vegetables and check it out. You can use the code AskWeldon to get a $5 discount so that I know that you saw this video on YouTube and that you are going to purchase the program from there. All right. Last question.
Hey Weldon. Recently I've been playing in a new fresh account with a fresh MMR, and I've been only playing at times while I feel very focused and motivated on this Smurf account. While I am at my normal state, I go back and play in my main account. The result is my Smurf account has a much better MMR, and I'm able to achieve much more success in this account than in my main. So this is helping me a lot to climb in ranked. And I would like to know if you know any other shortcuts or hacks like this to help me climb in ranked. Thank you.
All right, here we go, guys. We got to the meat of the show. This is the moment you all have been waiting for, shortcuts and hacks to climb ranked. Okay, so what is Luis here doing? Luis is essentially separating performance and entertainment play. So when you play League of Legends, and when anybody plays any of their esports, you can recognize a difference between when you're playing it just to relax and chill and when you're playing it to perform and to train, right? And one of the things that you can do to climb ranked is to consistently start new accounts at your higher skill level, so you're not tainted by the statistics of your previous account, which, by the way, it only takes a few weeks to like move that bell curve. So you can escape, like I would say you can escape MMR pits into a new skill level. Like your statistics will adjust slowly over a couple weeks. But anyway, you can speed that up by kind of starting a new account, although you don't want to rank one up if you're in an esport like League of Legends, where it takes months and months to get a level 30 account. Regardless, what he's doing is he's separating his performance when he's on stage from when he's basically just playing for casual. And you can do the same thing. You can separate when you're playing for stage and when you're playing for casual by putting them on separate accounts. I actually do not think that's a good idea. I think that you should average your skill level so that you know how good you are, including your casual play, because that's a better representation of your actual skill. Effectively, what Luis is doing is he's taking the top segment when he's really in performance mode, and he's taking the bottom segment, and then he's thinking that he's actually as good as the top segment, when really it's a bell curve. And he's just trying to eliminate the bottom half of the bell curve, which means that he's going to have this reality crashing down period when he can only play on one account, or when he's training and he loses focus because he's training for 8 hours, and so he's getting into you would say casual mode, but I would say just non-performance mode. And then his skill level is going to perceive to drop when in actuality it's been in the middle of the two the whole time, which is fine. Okay, you can definitely separate that out, but understand what you're doing, that you're essentially isolating your higher levels of performance. So you are hacking the ranked climb, and you're going to get a slightly higher MMR than you would be able to if you were averaging all of your play together. Okay, what are some other hacks and tricks to climb in ranked? I have a list here that I made before the show. One tricking, this is my favorite one because I think it's actually a legitimate and good way to hack your soloQ climb, and it actually improves your chances of learning about the game. When you can eliminate things that you were focusing on, such as laning phase, certain combos, how to operate in team fights, how to play into certain champions, you can focus on other aspects of the game much more deeply, such as incredibly intricate trading dynamics in lane, purchasing in a very finessed way into different compositions at different times, playing off of your item spikes, in firmly knowing your opponents into the champion that you're playing, macro all over the place, leadership. There's all these things you can focus on when you eliminate the champion choice and you just focus on a single one or two champions in the game. Smurfing is a way to, like I said, separate the performance aspect and the casual aspect. Losing stopgaps. So, for example, I would never play a game after I lost 2 games in a row. So I was limiting myself. I would continue to play. It's kind of like betting, right? You go to the casino. How do you beat the odds? You bet until you lose 2 bets in a row, and then you stop. So that over time, what happens is you win 3 bets, and then you lose 2. And then, on some days you lose 1 and then you lose 2. And then on other days you get a win streak, but then you never get a loss streak because you always stop after a second loss. Okay? So you can, over time, essentially game the system by allowing yourself to have win streaks, but never allowing yourself to have loss streaks because you only ever lose 2 games. Now, if you go day after day after day after day and you're always losing 2 games in a row, that essentially is a loss streak. But hopefully there's like enough randomization and resetting between one day and the next that you can reactivate the climb, right? And in the meanwhile, you can go play on your Smurf, or you can play something else, or you can just not play the game at all, and you can study what you did wrong. And finally, caffeine. Caffeine is a hack you can use to soloQ climb. You can essentially only ever play after about 45 minutes after you've had some caffeine, or 30 minutes after you've had some caffeine to get really high focus. And this only works, obviously, if you're not tolerant. So if you don't take a tolerant amount. So if you drink a Starbucks every single day, and then you drink a Starbucks, you're not going to have a boost in concentrated performance. You're going to get up to your standard. If you don't drink the Starbucks, you're actually going to play worse because you're already tolerant to it, so you're going to go through withdrawal. But what I mean is like overdosing caffeine. So essentially if you drink a Starbucks every day, you drink a Starbucks and then you drink a little bit more. Or better yet, don't drink any Starbucks at all for a couple weeks and then start using it when you want to play, and only use it for 3 or 4 days a week and then go off of it for 3 or 4 days a week. And that way you don't build up a tolerance, and you can use caffeine as essentially a performance enhancement drug. If you keep your tolerance off of it, and if you use it at times when you want to play or perform, such as when I do, I essentially only drink caffeine when I'm performing in business, so I supplement it as a way of staying alert at very specific times of the day, and then I make sure I cycle off it for a couple days so that my tolerance drops back down. And by the way, scale it up slowly. Do not withdraw your tolerance from caffeine completely and then go drink a Starbucks, which has around 200 milligrams of caffeine, kind of in one of the bigger ones. So you don't need that much caffeine to get a kick. You need 60 to 80, for the basic level. So you can get that from a big cup of black tea, or even from, you can get caffeine pills where they only have 50 milligrams in each pill, and you can regulate it very precisely. I don't recommend using pills because I hate recommending that, because I'm terrified that people are going to abuse them, because they're going to be able to take more of them. But anyway, people can abuse whatever they want. They can abuse all my other advice too. So anyway, pills do represent a very good way to grade your caffeine so that you're only taking the amount that you desire and no more and no less. It's harder to do that with coffee, but I start with tea when I'm coming off my tolerance, and then I move to coffee 2 days in. So I do tea day one time, maybe two. I do tea day 2, and then day 3 I do coffee. And then I do day 4, I do coffee maybe 2 times, or a large cup of coffee. And then if I'm really crazy, I do Vietnamese coffee, which has a lot of caffeine in it. And so those are the shortcuts and hacks to climbing ranked, you guys. Those are all the ones that I could think of in a short amount of time. Separating your performance out from your casual play, one-tricking, smurfing, loss, stop-gapping, and caffeine. Mixed with L-theanine, of course, from tea. All right, guys, that's the show for today. I am imploring you to call in your questions. You're sitting there and you're like, you know what? I love this show. It's such a fun show. But number 1, I don't have any good questions. And number 2, I would never get it on the show anyway. But both of those things are false. You do have a good question. You can come up with a very interesting question that gives context of your life and the challenges that you're facing. It does not need to be League of Legends related. In fact, I love the questions about just general mentality and mindset and situation. And I love the advice giving questions as well. Those are really fun. Think of a question, go to the anchor.fm/Weldon Green page, get the app on your phone and lift the phone to your ear as this demo right here shows on the screen that you can see, and then call in the question and let me know what is on your mind. Thank you for powering this show with your questions. Thank you, those of you who are calling in. And thank you for powering the show with your support of the Mac program. So that is really allowing me to kind of develop. It's not supporting me financially, unfortunately, because I'm putting all of the money into development, but it is supporting the development of the next version of this app, which is going to help even more people with performance and performance mindset and managing and controlling their emotions and focus in a way that will help them achieve success, aspiring for their goals. All right, you guys, have a fantastic rest of the day. Make sure to share this video, like, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And as always, come check out the live show on Twitch, twitch.tv/MindGamesWeldon, where I'm about to go and hang out with the audience that was watching this live, and we're going to answer their questions and dig into some deeper topics after the filming of this YouTube video. So I will see you guys later.